All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Check out Pig in a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig in a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary, get some brisket chili, and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And this video is also brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Mancini's is a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They offer a 120-night guarantee with a range of brands and price points. With Mancini's, you get free next-day delivery. Man, I am loving my Mancini's bed. It's awesome. Click the link below or go to sleepworld.com to find a bed that works for you, whether shopping online or visiting in store. Use the code KRUEG10, K-R-U-E-G 10, and you get 10% off. That's KRUEG10, K-R-U-E-G 10, to get 10% off in store or online at sleepworld.com. And don't forget, we're doing our meet and greet at Corte Madera Pig in a Pickle at 341 Corte Madera Town Center in Corte Madera on Sunday, November the 3rd. We had a very successful meet and greet last year. Let's do it again. Everybody show up at Pig in a Pickle on November the 3rd. It's the Niners bye week. We'll be there from noon until 6, talking football and drinking beers and having barbecue. So join us. We look forward to seeing you. All right, let's hear from Colin Cowherd. He did a video today on Kyle Shanahan is not Brock Purdy. Or Kyle Shanahan is not Andy Reid, I should say. And Brock Purdy is not Patrick Mahomes. Shocker. So let's hear from Colin. Here's Colin on the issues that Shanahan has right now.
Kyle Shanahan now 0-5 against Andy Reid. It's official. Number one, Kansas City's the best team in the league, maybe by a lot. Number two, they're easily the most resourceful team in the league. Everybody has injuries. Doesn't affect them at all. And number three, Andy Reid is separated from even the other good coaches. Kyle Shanahan's special teams, annual embarrassment. Kyle Shanahan's red zone offense, totally dependent, it appears, on Christian McCaffrey. Shanahan's a very good coach. But in high leverage situations, he doesn't have the adaptability, the ingenuity of Andy Reid. Kyle Shanahan has a very good system that's excellent with Christian McCaffrey. You take out that player, a running back, and even when their backup running back is good, it's not the same team. Andy Reid, hey, let's put Carson Wentz in the backfield with Mahomes. That'll get him. Again, both teams were missing a star running back. Both teams were missing a collection of receivers. Neither quarterback played their best game ever. Offensive lines for both Kansas City and 49ers, okay. But in every single high leverage situation, Mahomes in Kansas City up here, Purdy, Shanahan down there.
All right, so there's a little bit of Colin talking about, Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle Shanahan is now 0-5 against Andy Reid. And if there's one thing that really stands out is that Kyle Shanahan doesn't have the same supporting cast as Reid does. And it's partly because he's not attracting good enough coaches. Kyle's special teams are awful. Kansas City's got the best special teams coach in the sport, and Dave Taub. 49ers defense has regressed significantly. The Chiefs defense is coordinated by Steve Spagnuolo, one of the best defensive coordinators around. So Reid's got an awesome special teams coach and an awesome defensive coordinator, and he definitely has helped himself because of it. And as far as where the 49ers are now with Kyle Shanahan, I mean, I personally think that if you look at the fact that the Niners have Brian Schneider and Nick Sorensen / Brandon Staley as their defensive coordinator and Schneider as their special teams coordinator, they're going up against a Chiefs team that has way better coordinators. And then you look at the draft. I mean, Brett Veach has done a much better job than John Lynch. I like John Lynch, but here are the Chiefs' first picks since Lynch and Shanahan, hit the scene in 2017. The Chiefs' first-round picks are Patrick Mahomes, superstar, best quarterback in the game. Breeland Speaks was a bust. McCole Hardman, really electric player for them, a receiver. Clyde Edwards-Helaire still on their roster. Nick Bolton is a Pro Bowl caliber inside backer. 2022, they got Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis in the same draft. And then this last year they got Xavier. This year they got Xavier Worthy. So I mean, between Worthy, McDuffie, Karlaftis, Bolton, Hardman, and Mahomes, you've got 6 starting caliber players. Let's check the Niners' first picks overall in this regime of Lynch and Shanahan. Solomon Thomas, bust. Reuben Foster, bust. Mike McGlinchey, thoroughly average, right tackle, not a left tackle, took him in the top 10. Nick Bosa was a no-brainer, but he picked himself. He was the second pick overall. Didn't take tons to know that Bosa was a great pick, or going to be a great pick. Kinlaw, bust. Ayuk, that was a good pick. Lance, bust. Drake Jackson, great guy. I saw him in the press box yesterday, but to date, bust. Jair Brown, solid. And then Pearsall, who knows? I mean, he didn't separate versus man coverage yesterday, but it was his first game. But, I mean, look at that. What have the Niners gotten out of that same 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24? That's 8 drafts. 8 drafts. And the Chiefs have Mahomes, Hardman, Bolton, McDuffie, Karlaftis, and Xavier Worthy. They have 6 difference-making players in 8 drafts. And the Niners have Jair Brown, who you can argue whether he's a difference maker or not. I would say he's probably not, but I like him. Brandon Ayuk and Nick Bosa. So the Niners have literally half as many premier players out of the draft under John Lynch as what Brett Veach has been able to produce for Kansas City in the exact same time frame. So, is Shanahan worse than Reed? Yeah. But guess what? Lynch is worse than Veach. And, Schneider's worse than Taub. And Sorensen and Staley are worse than Spags. And Mahomes is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. I mean, we can go down the list, but it's not all on Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan, it is interesting, though. Reed can seemingly do it with whatever, right? Reed can win with anybody. Isaiah Pacheco's out, no big deal. Juju Smith-Schuster's out, no big deal. You just pick up Kareem Hunt. The Niners are doubling, Travis Kelce. We'll just go to Noah Gray. Reed makes it work. Carson Steele in the backfield, he makes it work. Where it seems like Kyle Shanahan needs a stacked deck with all kinds of weapons to have success.
Now, you could say to yourself, Colin, come on, don't be naive. This is all Mahomes. Okay, let's say it is. That's even worse news for San Francisco. You going to give the bag to Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy, let's please contextualize. Good quarterback. But when he's missing pieces, the red zone offense, meh. His 2 big completions, both underthrown. Thankfully, Tom Brady called it out. This is what I've consistently said about Brock Purdy. He's a good quarterback with nice mobility. But he was just 8 for 18, missing Debo. Ayuk may be gone now. 8 for 18 on throws, just 5 yards downfield with 3 picks. That's what he was. Yes, he was missing Debo. Yeah, and Mahomes has been missing Rashee Rice. Well, Ayuk, yes, Ayuk dropped a ball and then left later. Look at what Kansas City's been doing for 3 years at wide receiver, ham and egging it, just trying to find anybody. Juju Smith, have him, lose him, bring him back, gets hurt. That's the story of the Chiefs for 3 years, just trying to make it work. Bondo, Band-Aids, whatever works. So I think Brock Purdy is overwhelmingly, although I think he's got some talent, he has been the beneficiary of a good coach with a great system and a collection of Hall of Fame level George Kittle, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey. Take those out, and there's almost no extraordinary to Brock Purdy. Size, arm, movement, Yet in all those situations, when you remove all of those, Purdy and Mahomes are asked to do 2 different things. Purdy is asked in San Francisco, don't screw up. Here's the keys to the Mercedes. Don't screw up. That's what he's asked to do. Purdy is 6-8 in games in which he's just had one turnover. Mahomes is asked to carry a franchise, get rid of Tyreek Hill, move off great players, average offensive tackles. Can you be magical when we don't have all the resources we had to start the year, start the dynasty, or start the game. These are two different asks. One is the best quarterback on the planet, regardless of who's around him. One does a good job when everything's in place. And that's what I've said about this. Just contextualize. You give most quarterbacks in this league time to throw, number one receiver, excellent offensive line. They're going to look good. What Mahomes did yesterday on a game in which he didn't play that well, he just, in the highest moments, I mean, yesterday was a referendum on head coaching at the highest level, quarterbacking at the highest level, Mahomes and Purdy. I mean, you may not want to hear this, but, I mean, even on that bruising touchdown run, it's just Mahomes, off script, on script. It doesn't matter. He always makes the play. I've just watched this matchup too many times, and I keep seeing the same exact thing every time. Mahomes is magical in crisis. Purdy needs everything to be in place. Shanahan has a really good system. Their special teams are annually cringy, and Kansas City's more resourceful. Both these teams were missing all sorts of players. One kind of capsized, the other elevated. And that's what I've watched now 5 straight times.
Now, the other big question is, are you going to pay Brock Purdy the big bag? He's 8-18. He's 8 for 18 on throws 5 yards down the field with 3 interceptions. That's what he was yesterday. Purdy has benefited clearly from having a very good offensive coach, a very good scheme, and some great weapons. But he is operating behind a subpar line, so it's not like he's got this perfect situation. He still has to show mobility. But it's funny. You watch Mahomes, and the thing that stands out is he always makes the play under pressure. I mean, just watching the film again, 3rd and 5 on one play in the second half, and he starts moving, and then he goes a little shovel pass to Kelsey. They moved the chains, and they ate another 3 or 4 minutes off the clock. You know, it's moves like that, it's plays like that where Mahomes is just outstanding. But I don't know why we would focus only on Shanahan's not as good as Reed, because there's no doubt that Schneider's not as good as Taub. There's no doubt that Sorensen's not as good as Spags. There's no doubt that Lynch hasn't been as good as Veach. There's no doubt that Brock Purdy hasn't been as good as Mahomes. Do you see what I'm saying? The Chiefs are better because the Chiefs are better. I do think Andy Reid has proven that he can kind of do it with any number of different players and coaches. But look what he's got. Look what he's got right now. He is an offensive mastermind himself, but he's got an offensive coordinator in Matt Nagy. You know, who's Kyle Shanahan's offensive coordinator? Kyle Shanahan. You know, Kyle Shanahan is the head coach and he's the offensive coordinator. And, you know, the 49ers, it's just like under Shanahan, it's just been a series of bad years of special teams. First it was Richard Hightower. Now it's Brian Schneider. And, you know, you had D'Amico Ryans and you had Robert Saleh and you had some good defensive coordinators. But now you're going with a first-time DC and Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley, who had a nightmarish run with the Chargers. So I don't know. I kind of look at the situation, and we can focus, and it can be, you know, Shanahan's not as good as Reed, and Shanahan, sure enough, is 0-5 against Reed. But it's really more to do about his surrounding cast is not as good as Reed's surrounding cast. Like, if you gave Kyle Shanahan Spags and Taub and Mahomes, and you know what I'm saying, he probably would be a whole lot better than he is with, you know, Schneider and Sorensen and Brock. So let's not forget that Shanahan doesn't quite have the same hand as everybody else. On a day like today, you got to tip your cap to Andy Reid. He does an amazing job. He's one of the great coaches in the sport. Philly was crazy to fire him. And it does kind of make you wonder, will the 49ers move on from Kyle Shanahan and then go watch Kyle Shanahan kind of become Andy Reid in another spot? It definitely could happen. But yeah, right now, Reid has got the upper hand on Shanahan, but Veach has got the upper hand on Lynch, and Taub's got the upper hand on Schneider, and Spags has got the upper hand on Sorensen, and Mahomes has got the upper hand on Purdy. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.